Hola amigos and welcome to Nick's Knits podcast. This is episode 6 and today is the Ides of March, also known as March 15th, 2015. Hi guys, I'm Nick, also known as Nick's Knits on Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find me through our Ravelry group, which is Nick's Knits podcast, and please do join. And you can also find information on my blog, which is www.knicksknits.com. So hi guys, I'm coming to you guys today from Costa Rica, and yeah, I'm very excited to be here, but I'll talk more about that later. I'm having a great time here, and I'm very lucky to be here, but I'll talk more about that kind of stuff later. Let me do the male knitter shout out. So, sorry, we have one new guy this week, but I'll go through the whole list again. So we have Caleb, who is son of Sally Jane of the Pink Hair Girl Knits podcast, and his Ravelry name is calebcraft. We have Josh, who is sort of a knitter, and he has the Sort of a Knitter podcast as well. Kenneth, who is the Turbo Knitter 64 on Ravelry, and he also has a podcast called the Turbo Knitters Podcast. There's Terry, who owns the Etsy shop Bags by Terry, and his Ravelry ID is tschmidt. Jared Flood, who is brooklyntweed and has the brooklyntweed blog. We have James, who is Dancing Geek. Daren, who is djknitsalotmore and is the co-host of the Knitting in Circles podcast. Dennis, who is buzzboy on Ravelry. John, who is knitboy1 on Ravelry. Matthew, who is mkbug74 on Ravelry. Dan, who is obiwanknitter from the Bakery Bears podcast. Sean, who is the co-host of the His and Hers podcast. Matt, who is Navy1990 and is co-host of the Apple Blossom and You podcast. Mike, who is Mikey Jr. on Ravelry. Paul, who is Pauly81, and he also has a blog. Dave, who is co-host of the FO and Die podcast, and is Dave's Knits on Rav, and Knittmonkey on Instagram. Benjamin, who is benjaminkrudwig on Ravelry, and he has the Fibercast podcast. Navi, who is navisama on Ravelry, and he's very multi-craftual. Barry, who is Barry195, and he is from Northern Ireland. Shayne, who is zshayne. Nick, who is son of Rachel, who is Mrs. Sneelyjohn's on Rav. Richard, who is FabFairyKnits, and William, who is houseofwilliam on Rav. So hi guys, I'll get right into whips, but yeah, it's nice to have you guys here. So, first whip, I have a hoe, and that hoe is, for those of you who don't know what a hoe is a half-finished FO. I've had some of those, I had a question about that the other week ago, a couple weeks ago, and so that's what a hoe is. Yeah. But, so here is, I finished my first lollipop yarn sock, or my first of the, of this yarn, the lollipop yarn socks. This is the colorway Wild Thing. I love these socks. I did heel and toe in a contrasting orange, which the yarn came with. Yeah, they're for me. I'll show you guys the tag. Here's the tag. Alright, so there. And that I'm working on that in my very beloved Yarnet. It's perfect for traveling. I'll actually take a picture and post it somewhere. But on the tray table in the airplane, it's perfect because it has a grippy bottom. So if I just sit it on the tray table, it'll just come out. Or even like I have it on a ledge right now, and it still won't tip or anything, which is good. So there is that. So I plan to cast the other one on soon, but I have some other projects in mind. Finally getting onto something new, which is good. You know, I need to mix things up a little bit. So there's that. And my next whip is my cobblestone sweater. See, I told you guys I was going to start a sweater, and I did. This is the cobblestone sweater by Jared Flood. Pretty simple, just some garter and stockinette, you know, interspersed throughout. I'll show you guys a picture. But yeah, it's a great sweater. It's a pay-for pattern. I think it's $8 on Ravelry. Totally worth it though. Just a simple, like, this is a really good beginner sweater. If you've never knit a sweater before and you've always wanted to, this is a great sweater to start with. Here's a good picture. Try not to show any of the pattern. But it just has a garter yoke and stockinette body, and then it also has garter on the sleeves instead of ribbing, which is, you know, the normal use. And I'm doing that in my Monostill Uruguay Maxima in the Kohl colorway, spelled K-O-H-L, and that's in the number that corresponds with that is M2540. And I'm knitting that on a US 7 with my Haya Sharps interchangeable needles, which are wonderful. I love those needles. They're really, really great. Yeah, and that's also for me. I really like it. It's a great pattern. I really, really love it. It's simple. You know, I wanted something a little more interesting, but it's going to take me a while because I'm not going to be knitting on it 24/7. But I'll get it done. And then I have two other projects. Well, one that's I've actually cast on, and then one I'll talk about in upcoming. This is in my great bag that's made by the Silver Shed. Here's her tag. Try not to click on anything on my laptop, but Silver Shed, and it's in this really cool glasses fabric, which I love. And then on the inside, it has a nice orange chevron. But so what's cool about this bag is it's a 2 at a time bag, is what she calls it. So here, I'll take my scale out. But it has this divider in the middle, so you could have like 2 projects going at once. And this was great for me when traveling, because I didn't have to have 2 different bags, because the bags really add bulk. So this project is the Let's Twist Again, Let's Twist the Barbara Walker Way. And it's basically just a cowl that has this really cool cable detail on it. And you can find all that information on my Ravelry project page. But the cables, I have to go down and look at the cables a little longer because they're kind of confusing. They're not traditional. I don't even think you need a cable needle for them. It has something to do with knitting 2 together and then picking up only one of the stitches from the knit 2 together. I don't know. It's strange, but and it's a free pattern. Actually, I'll show you guys the instructions. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I actually found out about this at my first Vogue Knitting Live. But so here is the cable that I'm talking about. Whoop. There you go. It's the right twist. Knit 2 together, leaving the stitches on the left-hand needle. Insert the right-hand needle from the front between the front loop of the 2 stitches. So if you guys kind of understand that, kind of explain that, that would be helpful. I bet if I sit down and look at it, you know, it would be helpful. And I'm using this in the Neighborhood Fiber Co. Rustic DK. I forgot to write down the colorway. The colorway is on my project page. But it's a nice yarn. I saw it knit up. I saw this exact pattern knit up at Vogue Knitting Live, and that's why I chose it. But I don't know. This yarn is, if you're going to complain about a single ply yarn that's pilly, this would be the one. It's very, 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 very pilly. It's extremely pilly. I don't think you can, yeah. It's like over the top. But I don't know. I feel like it will get better hopefully after I knit it and wash it a couple times. But we will see. And I'll talk about the other project in here later. So there's that. I don't have any FOs this week. I've just been casting on some stuff like that, the sweater and that, so I've been working on that. No stash enhancement, which is good. But yarn donations, I kind of talk about this in joint with. Thank you to everybody who's donated yarn. I really want to thank everybody because it's truly appreciated, and the school has now seen how much of an interest there is, and what's great is I'll now be able to get a budget. That doesn't mean that it's going to be able to cover all of my costs, because I don't think they're going to understand that it's going to cost me $15 to $20 to put together a kit for every single child. So I'll have to see. I'm having a meeting with the dean in right when I get back. So a week from Tuesday or Wednesday, let's say, I want to have a meeting with him because two things. First of all, I have all the yarn and all the needles all in my locker. Like, I don't have storage space, so I need storage space. There's that, and I can't just leave it in the classroom that I do it because it's already crowded. You know, there's so much stuff anyway. There's that, and then we're also going to talk about a budget, which would be nice to have, you know, for things, because, like, the yarn, I love getting the yarn donations because it's a variety of yarns, and some of them I would never buy. And so I think I love getting the yarn donations, but, you know, we'll see. I'll talk more about that later. But I really want to thank everybody publicly. So if I can thank you, if you feel comfortable with me saying your name on the podcast and saying thank you, please message me. I've only got a response from one person, so I want to do it kind of all at once. It's a nice long list that I'll post your name on the blog. If you don't want that, no worries. Please just PM me either way. Don't just leave it like that. That would be great. Upcoming, so the next project that I'm going to cast on, I'm definitely going to do that probably right after I do this, is, I got this skein, you guys saw this, this Vulmiza Pure, which is their 100%, or the 100% merino base that she has. I got this in a swap, my Valentine swap with the Foxes and Socks giveaway people. So, I hope that the noise there's a lot of wind out today. I'll talk more about weather patterns and temperature and wildlife, all that sort of stuff later on. But anyway, there is this. I really like the color, and I'm going to make myself a clap of tea out of it, as I said. I'm going to cast that on like right after this podcast is over. And the best way to do a clap of tea, because you could do it like this, it's made for a worsted, but I'm doing it with a fingering. You could basically do this with any yarn, because all you have to do is cast on with a sizable needle. So like I'm doing like a 5, I think. Yeah, I think I'm doing this with a 5. And all you have to do is just weigh your yarn with your standard kitchen scale. So this weighed 164 grams. And I know Vulmiza can be a little bit off with the grams, so that's why I measured it. But then you just take, there's an increase, and this is a free pattern on Knitty. You do the increases, then you go straight, and then you do an increase. It creates like kind of like a parallelogram. The schematic is on the pattern, but it's basically, actually, you know what? I can show you the schematic. How nice is that? Here's the schematic. So it's made in this parallelogram type shape, and then it has that drop stitch pattern, but there's a part that's an increase, there's a part that's a straight, and there's a part that's a decrease. So all you have to do is measure your yarn, then knit until 20% of the yarn is gone. Do the increases until 20% is gone, then switch to going straight for 60%. So once 80% of the yarn is gone, so you only have 20%, then you start doing the decreases. So you could basically do this with any yarn, as long as you have a good needle size, because it's very, like, it's not concrete where, like, you could easily repeat it, but it's a wonderful shawl. I'm going to use it more for a scarf in the, you know, in the spring as it gets kind of warmer, but also it still can be kind of cold. So I'll have that. Very excited to cast that on. I'm going to do that soon. Knitting club update. As I said, yarn donations. Thank you guys so much again. Needles. I'm still looking for needles. I've gotten a lot, but needles are always in need because I've been getting a whole different range of weights, which is great, but I also need needles to correspond with that, and I'm not going to have enough. Like, if 3 kids choose fingering, I won't have enough, you know, of a size 3, 2 to, you know, go with that. But yeah, knitting club is going really, really, really well. I only had 2 meetings. I'm on spring break right now. I go back a week, I guess a week from today. Yeah, I go back to school a week from today. Or no, a week from tomorrow, I guess you could say. But and tomorrow is Monday. But oh shoot, I forgot about the U word that I'm trying not to say. I gotta keep myself to that. No U word. We all know what that U word is. And it's 2 letters, but I do not need to say it. From here on out. No U word. So, I'll say so. So is okay. So, I'm thinking of doing, oh my god. I'll try my best. Spring break. So we're on spring break right now, and I am going to keep the club. I sent them some tutorials to keep them. I wanted to make some myself, but I just couldn't get it together from going the phone, you know, my phone camera to YouTube and editing it. It just didn't work out. So I just sent them some ones that I trusted. Oh, if you guys ever need to learn a technique, a great website is www.knittinghelp.com. I'll put it in the show notes. But I'll type this in right now. And it is a great website because it basically has all the common cast-ons, all the common decreases, and all the common increases. All are videoed, so you can see it actually videoed. I can do pretty well with the written, but video I think can help a lot of people. So I did a, yeah, but that's a great website. I've been using it for quite some time, and it's great. So, on to Cal talk. The Cal is going wonderfully. If you don't know what the Cal is, it's the Spring into Socks Cal, which I'm doing co-hostly with the Bakery Bears. You can post in our chatter thread, and please do post in the chatter thread, and post your FOs once you get them. I have, as I showed last week, I have 4 prizes right now. I think, I'm sorry, I have 6 prizes. Benjamin, who is benjaminkrudwig, who has the FiberCast podcast, he donated all of his patterns. 4 crochet, 4 knit. There are 8 patterns in total. It's a great prize. He does great patterns. I love his patterns. And another one is we're going to get some stitch markers. I keep on forgetting to PM her. But yes, we are getting stitch markers as well. So I think we're going to add 6 right now. But I'd like to get a lot because, you know, right now there's about 20, 25 FOs. And I would like to see like 50. 50 would be nice. I think we can get to 50. But you know what? The less posts there are, the more chance it is for you who posted to get a prize. So there you go. No, Shayne. I think that's it Cal-wise. Oh, make sure in the FO thread, I had to delete a couple posts. But in the FO thread, please do not post comments because it does mess up the numbering. So I'm just gonna have to reconfigure that a little bit, which is fine. But please try not to post in the FO thread because the way that I do, if you've never heard of how people usually draw on podcasts, is we use a website called random.org, which is a truly random number generator. Some random number generators, or a lot of them, have patterns, while this one doesn't really at all. It's very, very random. So I take the thread and however many posts there are, and then put that number in, and then a number will appear, and then that post number, so then let's say it's 2, because my post was number 1, 2 through 50, and the post was number 25, that was randomly number generated. Then I go to 25, and then whoever's post is 25, they win the whatever prize it is. I'm going to do that off camera. I just want you guys to understand that. I'm going to do that off camera because it's going to take way too long, and I just don't want it to eat up your time. But I think that's all FO stuff. But again, please do not post in the FO thread. Please post in the chatter thread. And honestly, post your FOs, post your progress in the chatter thread. I love to see that stuff. I usually comment. Oh, this is a rule going kind of forward. If I don't reply, don't think that I didn't see it. I usually click a love or agree. You know, on the bottom you can click these buttons. But if I don't reply, I'm sorry. It's just I cannot reply to everybody. But you know, if I love it or if I agree with it, just know that one of those loves or agrees probably me. Because I love to see your guys' stuff. It gives me a lot of inspiration. I love to see it. It's wonderful. Yeah. So on to Costa Rica chat. So right now I am on the Guanaste Peninsula, which is a province in Costa Rica, and this is on the Pacific side, so I'm on the western side of Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is a pretty small country. It's about 2,200 square miles, which is about the size of half of West Virginia. Yes, it's beautiful here. I'm on a small peninsula, which is off of the Guanaste, which is this huge peninsula. It's kind of like a tiny bay. It's nice. If I look back, because I'm looking at the scenery, I'll try to show you guys. I'll try to move my computer a little bit, but the backlight wasn't working with this camera, so I had to move over here. Anyway, it's a very beautiful country, and there's so much wildlife, and that's like one thing that I love. This is why I wanted to come here in the first place, was to see the wildlife. And I was very lucky enough this morning to see, we went on a little trip, like a hiking type trip, or like just a wildlife trip, I guess you could say, more like a walk slash boat, and we were able to see some crocodiles, monkeys, butterflies, birds. It was wonderful. It was so amazing. I was so blown away by how beautiful everything is here. But yeah, it's a very interesting country because the ecosystem is so different to ours. Right now it is about 90. I don't have my, oh no, I do have my phone. I'll check what the exact temperature is. But it's very, very hot here. And as if you guys saw my Instagram post, it is extremely hot here. It's like being in, it's very weird because it's 91 out right now, but it is extremely, extremely hot. It's almost too, it is too hot. But it's so beautiful here that I can get over, the heat, that little part of this trip, to, for this beautiful scenery. And yeah, it's very dry here. It's very, very dry. It's very, a lot of the trees, so their rainy season is only a couple of months. They really only get rain in November and December, and then the rest is just very hot and dry on this side, while on the Atlantic side there's about 300 days of rain out of the year. So it's normal. It's kind of like a Florida type thing where they'll get rain, but then it will kind of just blow over. Like, it's not like hard rain. Hard rain comes in the rainy season. And some of the big exports here are sugarcane, cantaloupe, watermelon, as well as coffee. But the biggest moneymaker, I don't know what that word is, I can't remember, the biggest industry, there we go, the biggest industry in this country is tourism. Because so many people come here for the wonderful wildlife, because it's so untouched. It's an oasis of just untouched nature. And I think that's very hard to find nowadays, because, there's very few places where the nature hasn't been destroyed or polluted, and I think it's wonderful to be able to be in such a place that it's just spectacular. And anyway, yeah, the wildlife here is just amazing. The trees, everything is just so different, but yet we're so close to America that you just wouldn't think. Like, we get American television here, and very weird. Very, very weird. But the birds, I'm a big birder myself. I'm a big birder and butterfly fan. Those are my two big items. I love that stuff, and I'm a big birder. Just like, I was just watching Amy and Daren's podcast on the flight back from Florida, because I was just there visiting my grandmother. I've been so lucky this spring break with all my traveling. I can't believe it. But yeah, I have this app where you can download videos from YouTube, so I can watch like podcasts while I'm offline, which is really nice. And anyway, they've been talking about birding, and they think they're going to be start doing a birding segment. So I would like to do that. Whenever I go birding, I'll talk about it. I won't be able to post any photos of the surroundings after this podcast, but look in the blog within the probably next weekend. Look in the blog, Saturday or Sunday. Look in the blog, because I will put up a bunch of photos for everybody to look at, see kind of what it's all about here. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about Costa Rica, let me know. PM me. I would love to answer some questions. I don't know a ton about it, but we just went on this tour today, so I did learn a good amount about it. So if you are interested in Costa Rica or want to hear more, look for my next blog post, first of all. And second of all, PM me. PM me if you have any interest. That's the question of the day, Does Costa Rica interest you? Any questions, that kind of thing. On to blabber. Weather. As I said, it's very, very hot here, but it's very windy, so it's manageable. I don't understand how, the people that live here, I don't understand how they can survive. Because they said it's 90, it's in the 90s every day. It's basically in the 90s almost 9 months out of the year, if not 10 months. So, if you're out, even just walking, even if you're in the shade, if you're outside for, like, I'm outside on a porch right now, and being outside, if you're outside for 2 hours even, you'll get, like, really, really just drained and tired. It's kind of like that summer heat on the East Coast. It can get really, really hot some days, and you're just like, ugh. But it's like that every day, and I can't imagine living here all the time, because it's just so very hot. Yeah, school, I'm on spring break, as I've been saying. Spring break is going wonderfully. I've had a great time, and there's still a lot more to come. I'm here until Friday, so I have a lot of more stuff that I'm going to do. I'm going to go zip-lining, and just a lot more hanging out and relaxing, which is wonderful. I still cannot believe that I'm here. Like, it's so weird to think about that, like, I'm in such an amazing place. I feel very, very lucky to be here. Yeah, spring, it is heating up back home. Everything's starting to thaw out, which is good. And by the time I get home, it will officially be spring when we get back home, which is nice. Or actually, let me double check that. It should be, or I think the day that we get back is the first day officially of spring. So it'll be good. It'll be getting warmer, getting nicer. I probably won't get the sweater done before the end of before it gets way too hot. That's fine. And I'm not a big person about knitting for different weathers. That's fine. I just think knitting in this weather I couldn't knit outside in this weather. It's just so hot. It's like in the summer, like in the hot summer, you just can't knit outside. It's too hot. But yeah, I was also, as I was saying, I was also able to visit my grandmother down in Florida, which was wonderful. It was so great. It was really, 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 I had a really good time. To be able to see her for just a couple of days and be able to visit with her, and it was nice. It was nice to be able to see her. And yeah, I hope that I can see her again. And yeah, it's really nice to see her. I don't get to see her as often because she lives down in Florida. I can't even believe that I've been traveling so much this spring break. I travel, and I'm very, very lucky in the sense that I've been able to see some amazing things, but I've been traveling quite a lot, this spring break especially. But anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have. I'm just trying to, I just didn't scroll down my show notes here. There we go. So, as I talked about, I'm in a comic book club right now, which is awesome. And my teacher sent out this reading list that I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but we had a reading list that he was going to send out of comic books and fantasy novels. And so I ordered a couple of the books on the list, and I'm loving them. The books that I've been reading right now, and I have a lot more that I want to get to, but this book, it's called The Unwritten. And if you're a fan of Harry Potter, this would kind of pertain to you. But it's not like totally Harry Potter driven, but it gives references to something that's, I'll explain in just a second. This is the first one. It's by mikiejr and Peter Gross. And it's basically about this man named Tom Taylor. And his father wrote a series very, very similar to Harry Potter. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of the Harry Potter scenes, or Harry Potter-like scenes. But anyway, it's basically a novel about this man named Tom Taylor and his father here. Right? Looks just like Harry Potter. But basically, what it's about is his father, this guy, Tom Taylor, his father wrote this series of books. It's 14 books long, and it's basically very similar to Harry Potter. Magic school, going to wizardry school, all that sort of stuff. And basically, he goes and he's accused, or not accused, but people see him as being like the living. So the book, the main character is called Tommy Taylor, and the guy in the real life, his name is Tom Taylor, and his father based the books off of him, so based the main character off of him, and so everybody thinks that he's actually the guy, and so they think that he's almost the Word made flesh. So basically, like, it's a text, but then like here is like the Messiah, as they say, and it's very odd in that sense, but it's getting really interesting because basically what he's trying to figure out is what his father is, who his father was, because his father disappeared, and so he barely, he didn't see his father as an adult, and so he's very, he's thinking about it, and basically he's making money by signing, by going to signings and everything, for these books. Because people believe that he's a celebrity, even though he really doesn't have anything to do with it. And so, basically, his father was very interested in his, like, literature, geographics. So, like, Sherlock Holmes' apartment, like, the real, like, places in the real world where fictional novels actually occurred. So it gets really interesting because there's this map, and I won't tell you the end of the story, but it's basically these. I haven't even gotten through the second one because there's 2 that I have, but I think there's more. And it's basically they're able to go back in time into this like ghost era where it's basically like a ghost, but like you have to find something in every area that will help bring you back to the real world, and it's really interesting. It's kind of like a Time Warp Trio, or what's that other book? Treehouse, Magic Treehouse books for little kids. But this is much more an adult version, and basically is comparing this Tom Taylor's life to Tommy Taylor, who is the Harry Potter-like figure in this whole story. Yeah, I'm going to read more comic books, and I'll talk more about that next Sunday. But yeah, I've had a really great time. Before I wrap up, let me see if I can show you guys a little bit of the view here. This might not work, but we will see. There we go. Trying to get myself out of the picture there. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And there's the wonderful bay and a lot of trees. I wish there was a bird here. But yeah, look out for pictures for more on this. I won't bore you all with all this stuff. But yeah, have a great week. Make sure to check out the blog and the Ravelry group. And yeah, please do join the group. Let me know what you think. PM me. I'm going to start a thread in the group that's basically podcast suggestions. If there's anything you think I can improve upon, let me know. I would love to hear from you guys. I think that's it. I hope you guys have a really, really great week. And please stay safe, stay warm, Yeah, keep knitting, have a knit-filled week, and again, PM me. If you have any questions on Costa Rica or you want to learn more, just let me know. Have a great, great week, and I hope to see you all soon. Bicycle.